Unless you've only got one leg, there is absolutely no reason to have an automatic sports car. So on this episode of Nugget Project, we're going to talk through everything we need to do to convert this thing to a proper manual. That's right, gang, when I bought this car, it was an automatic. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, it's disgusting. I hate it. So, yes, I'm not a big fan of automatics. I have an automatic daily. It's a good car, but that car would genuinely be a much better car in a manual. But here we are. So, especially when it comes to lightweight sports cars like the MR2, like MX-5s, Skyline Supras, everything like that. Unless you're drag racing it and you don't want to actually drive the car, manual is the way to go. You get to enjoy driving the car properly. You can row through the gears. You've got 3 pedals. You can clutch kick. You can do all that sort of stuff. You can downshift. You can blip throttle. It's just so much more fun to drive, and nothing you will say will convince me otherwise. Anyway, there's my little rant out the way. So let's talk about what we need to do to convert this car to a manual. Now, I've already talked about the fact that we are changing the engine and the gearbox in this thing. So that's a big step, because originally I was going to keep the standard engine. Now, to keep the standard engine and convert it to manual, I would have to change out not just the gearbox, but I also need to find different engine mounts. So they have manual engine mounts instead of the auto ones. Then there's also the flywheel, clutch, all that sort of stuff. So it's not just the matter, like, because a standard automatic gearbox has a flex plate instead of a flywheel. So there's all these little things that you need to do, and then you've got to buy the decent bolts for it. And I usually go ARP, and it's like $90 worth of bolts just to hold the flywheel on. So there's lots of stuff there. So the engine and gearbox I'm buying as a combination. I'm buying a donor car. That whole thing will come out. So I don't have to worry about that. There's engine, flywheel, gearbox, everything in there to just drop in, and that just works. So that saves all that hassle. Having said that, I did have to find some manual engine mounts. And here's 2 of them right here. They're very rusty and gross. And obviously I'm gonna have to redo the rubbers on them, but I have them. There is one more, and then the 4th one, I'll have to either buy from Woodsport in England, or I might even make one. Who knows? Yes, I did have to get those for the new gearbox to make it fit. Now, obviously a lot of this information is relevant to this MR2. However, I imagine a lot of it will be the same from many other cars. Now, one thing that might be unique to this car is, this is the gauge cluster, and it has stuff in here that is for automatic cars. So on the side here, up above the fuel gauge, it has a little thing for economy, power, overdrive, and manual shifting automatic mode. So yeah, I didn't want that. So what I have done, let me just turn around here real quick, is I have sourced new manual gauge clusters. So this one is actually for a supercharged car, which is kind of cool. It does have the little green light in there for when the supercharger kicks in, because it is a supercharger that can electronically disengage. So I've got a bit of an idea of what to do with that for the new engine. There's something in the engine that changes, and I'm thinking I might try and wire it into that, which would be kind of a cool thing. And then I also have a stand, so that's a Japanese import one, and the speedo only goes up to 180, like most Japanese imports. And then here we have the Australian delivered gauge cluster here from a later model, and obviously manual. So instead of the automatic stuff, it has the volts, and the same on the supercharged one. It has a voltage gauge there, which is cool. This being Australian delivered goes up to 240k an hour, as a lot of Australian cars do, which is very cool. And both tachos go up to 9,000 RPM, which is very cool. Not quite what our new engine will be going to, but not far off. So, very cool. So that is something I have changed, and they were actually quite cheap, so that's cool. So obviously when you get rid of your automatic shifter, you need a manual shifter in its place, and that is exactly what we have here. It's already loosely bolted in the car, but this is our manual shifter. This is from Neil over in Wales. Thank you, Neil. He's a lovely guy. I've mentioned him before. He basically is on a mission to save as many AW11 MR2s as possible. He's got a whole field full of them. Very cool. So he sent me those. He also sent me the gear cables. So these are the gear cables that hook up to the shifter here, run through the chassis out into the gearbox, and these will work with a new gearbox, which is very cool. I just noticed there's a bushing missing there. I hope that's around somewhere. It did have 2 when they rocked up. Oh no, I'll have to find that. Cool. All right, so that's good. So we've got those cables and a gear shift boot. Now, we're pretty lucky with this because a lot of cars have a different center console between the automatics and the manual. I know in my Impreza, and I'm pretty sure in the Liberty, it's very different between the auto and the manual. It's a whole new surround. With this, it's basically the same hole, and instead of just that plastic panel poking through, it just uses a metal clip, and it puts the boot over there, and that's it. You got your boot there, and then that changes it to manual. So that's really good. That saves having to get a whole new center console thing, because that would be expensive and probably pretty hard to find. Now, I did get this one from Neil as well. It's a black with a red stitching. I do want to get one with a yellow stitching to match the black and yellow seats. Now, I had one tagged on eBay for an AW11. Unfortunately, they sold it, and I haven't been able to find one since, so I might have to get one made. That sucks. So one of the other things I'll need in the back of this car, obviously, other than the gearbox, is the drive shafts. So the drive shafts are different between automatic and the manual. Even if I was to change, keep the 4A GE and run the whatever gearbox is, a C52 I think it is, the automatic drive shafts won't work with that. So I'd have to get the drive shafts, and they were proving hard to find too, which is another reason why I'm doing the full engine swap. So bar the engine, which is obviously I'm saving up for, we've got just about everything we need to convert this chassis into a manual. One other thing you will notice with other cars is the ECUs are different between automatics and manuals. You can use an automatic ECU to convert this car to a manual if you're running the stock engine. You just don't plug in all the plugs for the gearbox, obviously. But considering we're doing the engine swap, we'll be running a completely different ECU anyway. Won't be a problem. So, last thing, let's go and have a look in the pedal box and see the last few things we need to change this to a manual. So obviously the last thing we need to convert this to a manual is a clutch pedal. And I got this clutch pedal from a guy, I think he was up in Sydney. He was wrecking a car and yeah, didn't need it anymore. And he sent that down to me, including the master cylinder, which is obviously in the front. And it's not in bad condition. But I did get a clutch master cylinder rebuild kit from my friends at Protex. So it's all the seals and everything. So I will give that a full freshen up before we start, which is awesome. Now, what I want to do today and bring you along on a little adventure for is the very last thing. You'll notice that this pedal is huge because this is for an automatic. It has the big pad on there. Automatic brake pedals are massive and manual brake pedals are usually the same size as the clutch. I know this because these are replacement pads for the clutch pedal, and it is exactly the same part number between the clutch and the brake pedal on a manual car. You can see our old pads looking a bit worse for wear, so I got some brand new genuine ones there. So what we're going to have to do is cut this down, make up a new pad for that to fit and obviously be the same size as the manual one and to fit our new pad. But what I like to do is, since the car is down to this level, I want to make sure my pedal spacing's right. Now, this will confuse a lot of automatic drivers because they're like, what? The pedal spacing and seating position and steering wheel position and everything in a sports car and a race car and all that is so important. It's really the difference between having a fun car to drive and it just being annoying. Now, I've owned several Subarus in manual and they have always had really nice spacing in the pedal box, as well as early 90s Toyota, well 90s Toyotas. I don't have a manual Subaru here, but I do have a manual 90s Toyota. So we're going to go into my Sora and we'll measure out the pedal spacing and see where that sits compared to this. And hopefully we can make this pedal box feel like the Sora, because with the Sora I know exactly, they just feel exactly where they should be. I can heel toe really easily to rev match, and I can even left foot brake a bit in that car. Like I'm bad at left foot braking, but the pedals are just where they should be. So if I copy those dimensions over, I feel like we're going to be in the right ballpark for this to be right. All right, so in this garage is my beautiful Sora. Now a lot of you will be going, hang on, manual Sora? Yes, this is one of the rare ones. They didn't make many manuals, and especially not in the Series 3. So this is the last year they made the Sora, in 1999/2000. So this is a Series 3 VVTi 1JZ with a factory manual. So it is a very rare car and I love this thing. It does need a bit of love at the moment, but that's for after the MR2 is finished. Okay, so as you can see down here, we'll get my USB cable out of the way. We have 3 pedals. Let's check the spacing on these and then we'll compare it to the MR2. So I'll measure from the middle of the pad to the outside. This rule was too long. Alright, so that's the middle. So that is about 120 mil from the middle of the clutch to the middle of the brake. Push the brake down here. That's about the middle. Oh, okay. It's 120 mil from the middle of the accelerator to the middle of the brake. So, 120 mil gap seems to be the sweet spot. But yeah, this is a beautiful car to drive, and the pedal spacing is really good. So if I can replicate this, I reckon I'll be happy. So even though this thing's got a couple of issues, it's stuttering on the boost. I think it's got aftermarket coil packs in it, which is terrible. So I'm going to get some genuine coil packs, get some new plugs, sort out a few things. The heater doesn't work either, so the heater tap assembly is broken, which makes driving in winter really hard. I didn't take it to work yesterday because it was chucking down with the rain, it was freezing, and yeah, I just didn't want to deal with the cold. But I do try to drive at least once a week to work when I don't have the kids, because it is just a beautiful car to drive. Anyway, let's go check our pedal spacing on the MR2. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Obviously, we can already see that the brake is well over towards the clutch. So, we measure where the clutch is. That's the middle of the clutch pad. I have put a couple of marks on here before when I was having a look at stuff. Yeah, right. So 120 is about there. Let's get a pen. Okay, so it's the middle of the pedal there. 120 is all the way over here. Now, hopefully, it's 120 there. It's the middle of the accelerator. 120 there. Okay. So that mark there is 120 from the clutch, and that's 120 from the accelerator. So I think if we can get the middle of the pad in that ballpark, will be right. Now obviously you can see that this arm, it's not going to work, so we're going to have to bend that in, and that is very, very thick steel. So I might take this off. We might go visit the hydraulic press and see if we can bend this arm to sit about here instead. Alright, welcome to my makeshift machinery shed. This still needs a lot of work and I still want to knock a hole in the wall through to there, but now it works. I might have to take this apart. I don't know if I'm going to get it in the press in one piece. There we go. Alright, so we can see there, that's where the bend is, so I'd like to straighten it up there if possible. Man, this is thick steel. It's a good 10 mil, I reckon. Right, let's adjust this. Okay, that bounced back a little, but it definitely bent it. All right, let's slot it back in its holder. See if we're on the right track. Okay, so obviously the pad's now bent because we've bent the whole angle. Let's see where that's sitting. Oh, how good's that? 120 is right on the bar. Let's bring it over this way. Ah, 120 is over there. It might have gone just a little bit too far. I reckon we can come back a little bit. Be of trial and error for this, I think.
Back in we go. Fingers crossed. Let's come back over a little bit. The heat though. Yeah. No, I need to come back a little bit more. Off it comes again. Okay, third time's a charm. Let's see how we go. Oh, that's looking better. 11.5. That is perfect. That's exactly where we want it. That's awesome. So now, what I need to do is cut this pad off, and I've already made up a template off of that one. And we're going to cut a piece of plate, weld it over there. I obviously need to do, if you have a look at the back of the pad there, so it fits over the plate, so you can't have too thick of stuff behind it, otherwise the pad won't fit on. So I need to cut that back enough, and then, yeah, weld the plate over. I reckon that will work freaking awesome. Perfect. Put that rubber on there because I can feel that it drops into the groove. I'll just trim off those corners so get a little bit of a buffer for the weld. Take the pedal off, we'll cut a plate, we'll weld it on. Sick. Okay, sweet. So we've got our new pad there out of 1.6 steel, which with that chunky stuff behind it will be more than thick enough. I think the standard one's maybe 1.8, so it's close enough. What I want to do though is drill a hole in the middle so I can tack it there, so I can get the position, so I can get it all straight and everything first. And then I can take the pedal off and then weld it fully around the back. So first of all, we'll drill a hole in that, put it in place, tack it, and then yeah, weld it properly.
Okay, sweet. So that's tacked in and it looks pretty bloody close to the other pedal. The angle might be slightly different. That's, look, I'm happy with that. And nice and evenly spaced, that looks sick. All right, let's pull this pedal off and we'll weld the whole back of it on. Okay, so we've got our brand new pedal pads here. Let's put that on. See how she looks. Sick. Okay, let's find the one for the clutch. How good is that? And there we go. How good is that? So a few of you might be screaming, why didn't you just get a manual brake pedal? Well, I could, but they're not that easy to find. Remember, this car, they only sold 900 of these in Australia. A lot more supercharged models were imported, but I'd be very surprised if there's more than a few hundred left on the road. And most of the other ones have already been parted out and wrecked. There's not that many parts, so I'd probably have to get it from England or something. With shipping and all that, I'd probably end up paying 150 bucks for that pedal alone. Whereas that took me 45 minutes to measure that all up, straighten it, weld that plate on, and now I'm stoked with that. I mean, you wouldn't know that's not a factory manual brake pedal. That's awesome, and well spaced too. So we've copied the Sora, and the Sora is very similar to like WRXs and stuff, which have really nice pedal boxes. So this should be very cool to drive. So I'm excited about that. How good, how good. One less automatic in the world. We're winning. No, we're not winning. We're definitely not winning. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoy that. So that's something a bit different today. Yeah, converting the last bit to convert this car into manual, obviously, except for the gearbox, which I'm still working on. Just need more money for the donor car. If you haven't liked and subscribed and all that crap, don't worry about the liking and all that, but if you subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. I would love to get this channel up to 10, 15,000 subs. It'd be really cool. If I don't, whatever, I'm still gonna build this car and I'm still gonna document it, and for the few hundred people to watch it, I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, we'll see you in the next episode where we get this thing, hopefully, back on its wheels.